Well, thank you so much for the introductions, and I feel like when all the other speakers keep talking about Blurb, that's a good intro, because we are the new kids on the block in this industry. I'm very, very excited to be here. And I have to say, being here with this panel is fantastic, because this is a group that cares about photography books. Mark, your passion for photography, it's inspiring. And so every day when we get to look at the kind of books that we see come through the Blurb platform, it is just an amazing, amazing array of talent and work that we get to help celebrate. So I can talk about this forever, but I don't think I need to, because we've talked about it a lot just over the last couple hours. But the significance of a photography book. It takes what is a collection of work and allows the photographer to tell their story. They get to decide the beginning, the middle, and the end. They can take you on a journey. And when you look at somebody's work in a book, it is the most intimate experience. So I agree that there's a lot of stuff happening digitally, but there's nothing like getting that physical book in your hands and just walk out into the lobby today and just take a look at that publishing hub, and you just can't help but want to touch and feel the books. And that's what we're all about celebrating. So one of the questions that I was asked is sort of what's happened? How has the landscape changed, and what's been happening with photography books? And really, you have to look at the evolution. What historically was available to really just a limited number of people. Not because anybody didn't want all the work to be out there, but just pure economics, and we've already touched on that today, right? There's a lot of investment that has to go into doing a book in a more traditional way. Everything from curating the work, designing it, all of the upfront spend on proofs and everything else just requires that somebody's got to take a lot of risk up front. Also, limited distribution channels. Today, yes, we can think about what's available digitally, what's available online, but historically, it was all about getting into a physical bookstore, which meant somebody had to invest in inventory and put those in physical stores. So all of that starts to limit how many books can get published a year. And I think, Chris, you said, what was it, about 300 a year historically? This is going back in time a bit. So what's happening now? People like Blurb. Everyone keeps saying Blurb. What is Blurb? If you don't know, can I do a quick show of hands? How many people knew about Blurb before you walked in here today? Well, fantastic. Okay. Somebody else want to come and do that? So you guys know what we do then. We enable people to take their content, people who've never designed a book before, give them the tools to design that book, then to get it printed, to share it, and to sell it and to make a profit. And these are just some of the books that we're celebrating as part of a competition we just ran that celebrates some of the best in photography books. I have to read a quote from Anton, which just really hit me when we interviewed him recently. And he said this: let's face it, all of us photographers eventually want that one finite thing, that thing that makes it all tangible, that book. And that's what we try and do for photographers, is really give people an opportunity to make that one tangible thing. So what is the platform? It's an enabler. And Marcus, you said it, I so agree, it's all about the content, guys. That's what counts. And what we do is just enable that content to go into a book and to get that work out there. So what do we offer in terms of ways to get that work done? First is a whole suite of design tools. That's something that's new today, right? If you didn't know how to design a book, pretty tough when you just start with a bunch of blank pages if you don't have the experience. So this is where digital tools help. We have tools that allow you to lay a book out. They're very robust tools if you want to do a lot of fancy layout. Simple tools if you just want to do a simple type portfolio. And if you want to have complete creative control, there's the ability for that too. But just laying out a book and designing it isn't enough, right? You want to get those beautiful printed books. I think one of the things that HP is proving here at this show is that with digital printing, it's unbelievable the kind of quality you can get. And that's been a huge technological advance that allows us to get absolutely gorgeous books. Quality, most important. And secondly, the ability to print them one at a time. Now, doesn't mean you may not want to order 10 or 20 or 200 or 1,000, whatever. But the ability to just do them print on demand helps to address some of those environmental issues that Chris talked about earlier, right? You're not shipping books all around. So It's thinking about how do you leverage technology to solve some of the challenges that the traditional world presented. And then the last piece is distribution. Technology today allows you to get that work out there and to use social media, whether it's Facebook, it's Twitter, whether it's your own website or blog, to communicate out that your work is there and it's available to be seen. So what's possible today? Okay? And boy, if I could get my work edited by some of the phenomenal publishers we've heard from today, fantastic. But there's also a lot of work you have that you can curate yourself, that you have a vision for what you want that to be. Chris also mentioned that there's some people who already know exactly how they want their work portrayed. Well, digital platforms allow you now to have that complete creative control. The other thing that's quite fantastic is you can keep changing that content as you go. Last night we were talking to some of the folks from Magnum, and they were talking about how people are using Blurb books for portfolios. But the beautiful thing is when you have some new work you want to put in, your portfolio gets updated. And suddenly you have a brand new portfolio ready to go. The work doesn't have to stay the same every single time. We have people who are personalizing books for every single client they deliver to, for every single person they sell the book to. So there are lots of ways that you can use the platform that wasn't possible before. Time to market is a huge thing. And I just have to compliment the festival, because this book that Martin showed you just a moment ago, the catalog book, which if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to take a look because it's really beautiful. I have to credit the team here who pulled this off in about 3 weeks' time. Is that about right? From the idea of, gee, wouldn't it be fantastic to have a catalog like this? Oh no, we're so busy we don't have time to wait. It's 3 weeks before the festival, let's do it. From, concept to design to printing to having copies here to show you all, 3 weeks. Pretty tough to do that in any other model. So it's a pretty fantastic way to get your work out there and get it to us. Books, an entirely new medium. You think about your work differently when you're thinking about a book. Suddenly you have to think about the setting. You have to think about the pacing of it. You have to think about sort of the content and the story you're going to tell. Very different than looking for the one single image. And I had to just include this last one. When you're working and you're doing it a bit more independently, yes, more of the onus falls on you, but you're not looking for anybody else to say yes along the way. You get to make the decisions. If that's the image you want on the cover, you know what? That's the image you put on the cover. You're not trying to do things because it has to be commercially viable. You're not trying to sell 1,000 copies of the book. You're doing the work that best represents you. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Just what does sort of the whole digital environment bring you? And it's really access to distribution. Because really, that fast, you can have an immediate global presence. Okay? Digital tools, and this is something that we've got, it's a little book show, it's a little widget. It travels around. So you can take a preview of your book and you can share that with people, and you can share it on your iPad, so when you're sitting on the bus next to someone, you can actually show them your whole book. And you know what, when people see that book, they start talking about you as a photographer. And when they start talking about you, people start coming and visiting, and people start buying your books. So it becomes a fantastic marketing tool. What you want is that natural conversation to develop, and having something that can travel is a really, really fantastic way to do that. And it does promote then the physical as well. And then the last piece of the puzzle that really helps disrupt this old business model is, can I make any money? So, that question often comes up. So it's a little different than putting them in a physical bookstore. And we have Blurb authors that do that, by the way, and photographers, where they print 20 books and they go to someone like Marcus and they say, hey, can you sell my 20 books? More common, though, is people use an online bookstore to distribute their book. And that means they don't have to think about, how do I take a credit card and how do I ship the book out and do I have to deal with customer service and all that stuff. That's what these online bookstores can do. Right? So it becomes your storefront, but the beauty is you control the price. And with Blurb, you keep 100% of the markup. So on a per book basis, if you look at the cost of a book, yeah, it's more than if you were going to order 1,000 up front, but you're not bearing any of that inventory. You're not carrying that inventory. You're not taking any of that risk. And the beauty is, with a platform like this, the customer gets their book, whoever buys your book, gets the book in 7 to 10 days. So it's not a long waiting period. And you guys can all experience this when you go online and buy your copy. Really, really interesting business model now, because it really changes the control. It changes how many people are involved in the process. And you know, the question that you just asked Mark about, how do you predict demand? You don't. You have no idea in many cases. And this way, you don't have to know, right? So you can put the book and make it available and see how the response is. So what are the changes that we're seeing as a result? We are seeing unbelievable growth. And I have to tell you guys, the joy of my job, and there were a couple of us Blurb folks that are here, we were talking about this, is we get to see the work every single day. We see a lot of books, and you're right, there is an explosion of books happening right now. Tens of thousands of books come to our platform every single week. And we get to look at this, and we get to see the work, and we get to see the creativity, and we get to see the effort that people put behind these. It's unbelievable. And the question someone asked was, you know, is this happening everywhere? And I have to tell you, it is globally relevant. So as we're looking at books, they are coming from every corner of the world right now. We started our business originally in the U.S., but I can tell you that half our business is coming from outside of the U.S. at this point. We just ran a competition called Photography Book Now. 50% of the entries were from outside of the U.S. and representing just about every country. So it's a chance for people to have a voice wherever they are, whatever limitations they might have from the area that they're in. The other thing we're seeing is just a redefinition of what a book can be. It used to be that a book was, you know, one thing that might sit on your shelf. Now a book can be a portfolio, it can be a gallery catalog, it can be used as a gift, it can be anything. So what a book is takes on a whole life of its own. And the last thing we're seeing is people are starting to push the boundaries. So yes, to have a digital platform like this and a platform where you can serve so many customers, yeah, we have some standard sizes. We do. We have many of them, but there are several standard sizes. And if you can come out and check out the table that we have out there, you'll see people are starting to add their own touch to it. How can I make this book a little bit more custom, a little bit more personal? And we're starting to push the boundaries of what digital can be. We've seen people take what we have as a little black and white size, a little 5x8 pocketbook, and do unbelievable photography books in there, all in black and white. Really, really different, unique things, and just pushing the boundaries beyond what was possible. And that's really what it's all about. It's about taking your creativity and giving people a place to express it and empowering you to do something with it.